All right, so we welcome in from New Jersey, the FanDuel Director of Trading, Mr. John Sheeran. John, welcome to the VSiN Hotline, my friend. How are you?
I'm a fan as well, Brent. Happy to be here. Yeah, all going well here in New Jersey. Thank you.
Oh,
It's
on
great to
this
be
Easter weekend.
I
I'm
know.
loving the Irish brogue, my man. How you
I know, yeah.
doing?
It's a sin at home to be working on Good Friday, Brent, but I said I'd brave it.
We won't tell anybody.
We want to talk about FanDuel because John is the director of trading there, and they have some interesting props coming up. I am absolutely fascinated. This is the first prop I have seen matching those two warriors with their Twitter accounts. Juju Smith-Schuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course Antonio Brown of the Oakland Raiders. And you've got head-to-head prop bets on yards and touchdowns this season. My man, you must be having a lot of fun with props like this.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things that we've taken from our approach in Europe, Brent, is to bring, people a lot of choice and give them topical, bets and props that they like to wager on. So we've been keen to do a lot of that since we got here. We plan to do an awful lot more of it, and look, it give it the perfect opportunity for us to put up a match bet based on what the two guys were arguing over Twitter. I kind of side with Juju here. I think he's an understudy to Antonio Brown, and I didn't think it was really necessary. So we felt like it was a good, fun prop bet. We haven't seen a ton of action on it, but there are some bets that have come through on it, and we think it's a fun bet for people to even talk about, like yourself. You're the first one that picked up on it.
Yeah, John, listen, I think it's a great bet, and you may like Juju, but you've made Antonio the minus 220 favorite with more touchdowns. You must think John Gruden going to be able to get him the football in the end zone, my friend.
If they can get some scouts back by next week, then maybe they've got a chance to do some work. Look, Antonio Brown, his record speaks for himself. We know he's one of the best receivers in the league. Juju still, I think this is only his third year, so you have to make him a pretty strong favorite, and we're happy with the line that we set. We haven't moved it since we went up initially, and like I said, we've taken a few what I would call recreational wagers either side from the public.
Now, Odell Beckham, you have special props. Receiving yards this year, over 1,000 with the Cleveland Browns, minus 200. It's still difficult for me to say of the Cleveland Browns and not the New York Giants. Receiving touchdowns, over 8.5. You've got an over-under price on that. Over minus 135, under plus 105. Listen, I have to tell you, John, I had forgotten that you had prop bets like this a lot over. I think these are the kind of entertaining bets that people really like. And exactly, these are not heavy hitters coming in on you. These are guys who love to bet the $20, the $100, take a side in this and argue on it. I think these are really entertaining. I applaud what FanDuel is doing with these.
Yeah, like I said, Odell Beckham's such a big story here, and we've such a local bias towards New Jersey, or towards the Giants here in New Jersey. It was almost a shame to lose him to Cleveland. You say that there isn't big hitters coming in, but I think we set a relatively bad line here. It's actually 1,100.5 yards, and we saw some pretty sharp action within a couple of days of going up, and that's why we're minus 200. We should just really bump it up and make it minus 110 either side, and the same with the overs as well. We did see some sharp interest on over an 8.5, and with Baker Mayfield and the way that the Browns look this year, and you give him a weapon like Odell, it's hard to believe he won't target him a lot and go for a lot of yards and touchdowns.
So, John, bookmakers in Europe admit when they make mistakes. They never do out here in Las Vegas. They never tell me when they made a bad line.
I've had to get used to it, Brent. We've been here since last July. We've made plenty of mistakes, believe you me.
When we acknowledge it, we just keep paying. That's what we just like go. Hey, John, Vinny Magliulo, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. So, just kind of a two-way question here. I love the fact that you're speaking about some of the comparisons between the States and over in Europe. What are some of the things that you're surprised about, some of the differences, whether pleasantly or just a plain surprise, between the two? So what are the things maybe that you're going to bring here, like you talked about? What are some of the things you'd like to bring back to Europe from the American market?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of aspects, Vinny. I think the first thing for me that was surprising was just the sheer appetite for recreational betting. We want betting to be fun. Our brand at home in Europe is built around that idea, and that's very much the approach we want to take with FanDuel as well in the US. So, we believe, I guess to answer your question, the first thing we brought from Europe was diversity around product offering and giving people the choice to bet on whatever it is they want to do. I'm never, ever going to say no to more product. I love the fact that New Jersey have been open towards giving us the availability to be able to offer, a multitude of different markets, a lot of which have never been seen before in the US. And I think that's the one thing we brought this way. I think, if I'm being honest with you and admitting another mistake, I think the biggest learning from last year in the US for me specifically was I think it's easy for us to get away with what I would call an average pricing system around baseball in particular. I would say the punters actually won the argument with us in baseball. We were disappointed with our margin, but we spent the off season kind of refining our analytics and our statistical data to be able to put our models in a strong position. So as once we get into the meat of this season and we get rid of the playoffs in the NHL and the NBA, that we're going to market with a much better line. I think we'll have a confidence level, that we didn't have last year, or at least that we weren't aware of. So, the amount of shrewd business that is in the US was kind of somewhat surprising. We thought that, everybody in Europe gets that information and, we react to it accordingly. But it was kind of surprising, if I'm honest, and definitely a learning curve for us that we need to do a better job.
Excellent. And you also, John, talk about the number of traders, of bookmakers that you have. That's for the folks listening here in the States. Traders are the bookmakers, the folks monitoring the activity, and you oversee that. Give us an idea of, let's say, particularly for your in-game and things like that. How many traders do you have overseeing that?
Yeah, so I guess a group the size of ours, Vinny, gives us probably a bit of a competitive advantage, I would say, in the marketplace. We've got, a global trading team of in excess of 300 traders, and we can lean on that expertise and look, to be honest with you, a lot of experience. I've worked in this industry for 20 years. Gambling is so much more mature, and sports betting is so much more mature in Europe and indeed in Australia, where we have sports bet as well. So we have a pretty big team when it comes to relying on, resources to be able to surface all that product and to cover all the events that we want to do. We'll need to expand that directly here in New Jersey, and we're committed to investing and increasing the sheer number of bodies that we have on the ground here in New Jersey. We expect it to get to about 20 this year, but looking forward to what we want to do and what our plans are more longer term, I expect that to grow significantly as well.
John, Mike Palm here from the D. Do you offer in-game wagering on each game in the major sports, or is it a select menu each night?
No, we do every game in play across all of the core sports.
Wow, that's
impressive. That's very impressive, and it's appreciated, because I think that's the direction that wagering is going, with the ability to bet in-game or in-play, as they say here.
Yeah, it's become such a huge percentage of our business overseas, and already we're seeing 40-50% of our handle in some of the sports actually during the game. So, I expect it to go the way that it has gone in Europe, and we expect to see, massive growth in play, and we're investing heavily in that as well. And that's probably the biggest kind of lean on resource, Mike, where we need enough people to be able to cover all of these games, particularly when you think about college going forward and how many games there are.
Do you individually have a bookmaker or a trader making the in-game number on each game, or do you rely on an algorithm that you've built across different sports?
Yeah, there'll be a multitude of both, what we would call hard and soft news. So we will have a lot of the statistical analysis in our models. A lot of that data is already there, and there's an algorithm coming up with the line. And then we also, traders will take individual opinions based on that and move the line a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of weighting towards the consensus and what's in the marketplace as well, because we understand that there's a lot of benefit for us, a lot of intelligence in the group like that. And, that's what we try to do.
Don, have you set lines? We heard that you set lines on every one of the New York Giants games for the upcoming season. Speak a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first learnings we got, Vinny, through the NFL season last year, and particularly at the start, was just the sheer bias towards the Giants here in New Jersey. There's a massive demand for it. I don't think it matters how bad they'll ever get. They'll continue to be our worst result in the Super Bowl book every year. So yeah, we've set a line for every game for this entire season, for the regular season, for the Giants starting off in Dallas. I was talking to a couple of guys earlier, and we've set it at 7.5, and they actually thought it was a little high. But it's really hard to see how the Giants compete this year. I mean, they've literally emptied the cupboard, and unless Saquon can throw the ball, catch it, and run with it, I think the Giants are going to be in big trouble. I think we set their total for the season at 6 wins, and it's a struggle to see how they get there, to be honest, unless they make some big changes.
But John, you do have a prop up on the Giants. The favorite to select Dwayne Haskins at plus 225, followed by the Jacksonville Jaguars at plus 700, my friend.
Yeah, we've seen it. To be honest with you, we should push out the price a little bit. I think there's been some talk, obviously, around Dwayne and potentially the Giants. Obviously, the general manager's come out this week and said he won't be forced into picking a quarterback as well. So that probably should go out a little bit. But yeah, it's an interesting market. And again, we've seen some kind of local, what I would call public bias towards that market. And we have laid the Giants in that market, but that's not unexpected.
Hey, John, one final thing. FanDuel, is it available only in New Jersey to bet in the app, or are you elsewhere?
We're just online in New Jersey. We plan to launch in Pennsylvania sometime in the middle of July. Brent, we're already in retail in Valley Forge, just outside Philadelphia, and also in the Greenbrier in West Virginia as well. So, we're heavily invested in the US. We want to move across states, and, wherever there is an opportunity for online and retail for FanDuel, you'll see us there.
John Sheeran, the FanDuel Director of Trading. John, this has been an outstanding conversation. And again, happy Easter to you and the family, and we will talk to you again, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you having me.
Happy Easter, John.
All right, and we want to check in and talk a little college baseball action. That's right. At Caesars, you can bet college baseball. Back live, visa.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at vsin.com.